Everybody, welcome to the Roaming Homer podcast. My name is Caleb. That's Francisco, and welcome to episode 9. Hey, draft is over. All the news stories are coming out. So we've got a good show for you this time. We're going to be talking a little bit about some news with some acquisitions for the Dolphins. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys acquisition. And then we're going to have a little segment of some random news things that are going to be coming out. And then we're going to end it, as we always do, with our Roaming Homer section. So without further ado, let's roll the intro and get right into the show. Cisco, what's going on, big guy?
What's going on, man? A lot of stuff going on in the NFL, man. Free agents are starting to sign that, veterans, I should say, starting to sign some contracts. It's getting very interesting now.
Yeah, it's getting closer. OTAs are out there. Mini camps are going to be starting soon, and a lot of teams are trying to fill those extra holes of the things that they did not get into the draft. And we're going to talk a little bit about those in a couple of our segments here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just kick off our first segment. And we're going to talk about one of those signings. And I think it's so far one of the bigger signings because he's a bigger name, right? So one of the bigger signings of the free agents that are out there, and that is OBJ. And as we know, he signed with my Fins. So here's a little bit about the contract, and we'll talk a little bit about what your thoughts are. I know he's an ex-Giant, so there's a little connection there for you, but he signed a 1-year deal for a max payout of $8.25 million. It looks like those are mostly incentives. So the year, it's a $3 million deal. I think it's a win-win. And I said this before, I can't remember on one of our episodes or if we were just talking offline. I feel like this. I feel like if OBJ can come in and understand that he is the number 3 wide receiver, play like a number 3, come in, get 60, 70 catches maybe this year, maybe not even that much, but maybe get 500 to 700 yards for us. Dozen TDs, something like that, maybe 8 to 10 TDs. That's a win. I don't know what the incentives are. I don't even know if they've brought those out of what makes up the $8.25 million. But to me, this is a no-lose situation for the Fins. It's a minimal hit with $3 million. Even if he gets injured on the first week and he can't play, they're out $3 million in a 1-year contract. Well, he's one of your guys. Been with the Giants. What are your thoughts on OBJ?
He's been with the Giants and the Browns. He's a diva. Listen, I loved him when he was on the Giants because the guy was athletic. He made tremendous plays. The guy's a diva. He's been a diva since he's been in the league. He didn't do, he complained all the time on every team that he's ever been on. That's just factual. Did it with the Giants, did it with the Browns. The Ravens, hurt. These teams didn't sign him back for a reason. So the Browns traded him because the guy was just a headache in the locker room. You had him go to LA. LA didn't bother signing him back to a deal because he got hurt again in the Super Bowl. It wasn't his fault. Mm-hmm. He got hurt again. He went over. He went over to the Ravens, and you would think he had a decent season with them, but of course he was hurt again for a little while, and they didn't sign him back. To me, this just smells of desperation a little bit by the Fins trying to. I know that's your team, but it smells of desperation to me because, come on, man, he's 31 years old, but he's an old 31 years old. The guy can't stay on the field. He just can't.
Right.
He gets hurt at the slightest. It's an ankle. It's his ACL, MCL. The guy stays constantly hurt. Now the weather in Florida, beautiful, so that might help his body some in recovery time. Him knowing the problem is he has to know, like you said, that he's not the star anymore. It's not his team. He's not the man on that team. And as long as he can keep that mentality and keep his ego in check, which I think would be the biggest issue, I don't think it's his skill set. The guy's, when he's healthy, he's phenomenal. He can make catches. I take nothing away from the guy. But his ego gets in the way of him being more accomplished than he is already. Let's keep it 100. But to me,
I'm gonna agree with you real quick though. what wide receiver really truly isn't a diva? Like I've coached wide receivers even in high school and watched them become divas in high school. And so all of those skill players, your corners, your safeties, your wide receivers, they're all divas in their own category. But here's what I want to point out. I'm going to disagree with the act of desperation. They offered him a contract. I don't think that they pursued him like he was the last ditch effort of desperation. He could have signed with the Chiefs and I think or the Bills. Both had contracts out there. Don't you think the Chiefs playing with Patrick Mahomes, he would have been a number 1 wide receiver out there?
No, no,
Maybe a
hell
number
no.
2?
Hell no. He still would have been number 3. He still would have been number 3. He knows, listen, I think he chose Miami because number 1, there's no income tax in the state, okay? Florida.
True. A
So
lot of people go there for that.
his contract is going to be a little bit bigger when he gets after taxes than what he's going to get charged.
Right.
Number 2 is let's keep it real. He thinks he may have the chance to be the number 2 wide receiver on the team. He sure ain't gonna be number 1, but in his mind, he's still good enough where he thinks he can be a number 2 or number 1.
Yeah.
So
there's no chance on the face of this planet with Waddle and Reek, he's a number 2. There's no chance. He hasn't proven to anybody that he's a number 2 wide receiver over the last 2 or 3 years. Is he a great veteran? Is he capable of making plays? Think about this. Think about the wide receiver room in Miami right now. Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, OBJ, Braxton Berrios. And then you've got our tight ends, Jonnu Smith, and there's a couple others out there that, and we don't do tight ends like that. But think about that. We added another speedy running back behind Moster and A-Chain. The weapons on the Fins right now is probably the scariest on paper of the NFL. The scariest on paper. And I say that, I'm not trying to be 100%, my team is going. Okay, they're the scariest on paper. Because how do you guard? How do you guard? How do you defend against Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, and OBJ on the field at the same time? Tell me.
but how you know they're going to put
Zone
him on the field at
defense?
the same time though? How you know they're going to put him on? How you know they're going to scheme it that way?
Why wouldn't you scheme it that way? At least 25, 30% of the plays, why wouldn't you scheme it that way?
Because
I would certainly have that at 3 wide right there.
OBJ is not the same player, man. You can guard OBJ. He doesn't have that explosive speed anymore. We're not talking about a guy who can break away. He's more
Understood.
of he's more of a situational wide receiver. He's not going to break away from his speed is not there anymore.
Who are you going to double team? Who are you going to double team?
I mean, you're going to have to
Tell
double
me,
team Tyreek.
are you going to play zone defense? You going to play zone defense?
You're going to have to double team Tyreek. You're going to have to.
Okay, then you leave Jalen Waddle and OBJ on a single coverage.
Yeah, but I'm not worried about OBJ. That's what I'm trying to tell you. OBJ in a single coverage is not going to be a problem. Jaden Waddle is going to be the guy you're probably going to have to keep the biggest eye on because you're going to double team. You're going to double team your main guy. OBJ, you can one-on-one him. That's not you get a decent corner to cover him. You should be fine.
Will it be a corner? Will it be a roll down safety or will it be an outside linebacker?
It all depends, man. It all depends on how they scheme it.
That's what I'm saying.
But you can scheme for
right
OBJ.
You can scheme for OBJ, but can you scheme for all 3 of them? And then also, can you scheme for Mostert, A-Chain coming out of the backfield? Can you scheme for that tight end that we rarely use? But listen, if that tight end's there, why not use it? I mean, it's Jonnu Smith, right? Darren Smythe. We have extremely great weapons. Some positions are average people, but average people can do great things when they're left one-on-one. So I honestly think it wasn't a desperation move. I really don't think it was a desperation move. And I'm not just trying to be a homer on that one. I don't think it was a desperation move. If it was a desperation move, they would have offered him more money. They really would have. It would have been a longer term contract. If this thing goes through the floor and nothing happens, they're out $3 million. In the NFL world, that is $50. But if it works and he's effective, not only is he effective in catching the ball and getting yards and getting touchdowns and getting receptions, but he's also effective of taking the pressure off of Tyreek, Waddle, and the rest of the crew, then it's worth $8.5 million.
Yeah, but you're trying to have everything fall into place for you. So number one, he has to stay healthy and on the field. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I don't care how scary your lineup looks for the wide receiver core, your quarterback needs to be able to get them the ball. And if he can't stay upright, he gets smacked with a concussion. The dude's career is all but done. So it doesn't matter what lineup you have out there. If your quarterback is not delivering and he's not getting you and he shits the bed, guess what? It doesn't matter what kind of talent you have.
Did he deliver last year?
He didn't, because they failed in the playoffs.
You don't think his deliverables and his QBR and his touchdowns and his receiving or his passing yards did not deliver?
It means absolutely nothing if you're not winning in the moments that you're supposed to win in. Period. You know this already.
Understood. But he did that with a rotation of the offensive line like it was a revolving door. And he didn't get sacked very often. I'd have to pull up his stats, but I think he got single-digit sacks last year. Single digit. So, again, you've heard me say this on multiple shows. This is a make or break it year for Tua. This is it. They're in contract talks right now, but they're going to pick up I think they're going to see what happens this year. Because if this Joker can't do it with this lineup, he ain't going to do it with anybody. And I don't care, listen, unless the line just decides not to block at all. He's got time to throw the ball 80% of the time. 80% of the time. So I don't think it was a desperation move. I think it was a very smart move by Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel and Ross. And obviously, as much as I don't like Ross, he was offered $10 billion to sell the team, and he didn't. I don't know. Maybe he sees something that I don't. I'm not a multi-billionaire like Ross is, but that was a smart move to me. And I'll leave it at that. You might think it's desperation, but I think it's a smart move on their behalf.
This is why I say it's desperation. It's desperation because now you're to the point now with Tua, you're trying to surround him with every piece you can to make him as successful as you can, because the guy cannot achieve on his own. He already had a squad. In Miami. Miami was good enough to go to the Super Bowl. That team was good enough to, even with the offensive line, you can't use that as an excuse, because Eli won 2 Super Bowls with one of the worst offensive lines in the league. 2 years that he went to the Super Bowl. Your defense was good enough. Like I said, he shit the bed in the big moments when you would want him to be able to be successful. The playoffs are where it matters. If he can't win a playoff game, he can't get you to the AFC Championship game, it's a wrap for him. That team is talented enough. You insert a guy like Aaron Rodgers, you insert a veteran guy on that team, any other quarterback that can that's efficient, that can run it. You put Kirk Cousins in that situation, he's going to get you further than Tua. Are you kidding me right now?
My heart. Bro, that's deep. I need some stitches, bro.
I'm telling you, man.
You put Kirk Cousins in that. Oh my!
Hey, listen. You give him those kind of weapons, and you give him, man. I'm telling you, and you put somebody else, a veteran presence in there that has that experience. I'm telling you, any other quarterback would have went in there and went further.
Listen, I will agree. I will agree on many of your points. I'm going to disagree that it's a desperation move. I will agree, because I've already said it before. This is a make or break it year for Tua. Last year, he was healthy for all 16 games. He did some great things. Now we need to see him go the next level. Of all 16 games, go next level now. There's no question. This is it. You have zero excuse, Tua. You have zero excuse, Mike McDaniel, barring all 52 players breaking legs, and you are now the replacements. You have zero excuse. You've got a depth chart of wide receivers. You got a depth chart of running backs that is out of this world. You got a secondary with Javon Holland and Jalen Ramsey. Somebody call the police, because we stealing from somebody. That is ridiculous to me. And to say that, Tua, I'm telling you right now, this is your year to prove that you stand atop of the quarterbacks in the league to make this happen. You have no excuse. You have no excuse. So that's the first of our installments of who just got signed. So we're going to go on to our next segment here. We'll give our second quarter whistle here. And we are on to our next segment. So an Ohio State guy just reunited with his draft team. Little mixed emotions with this. I know they're in your league, they're in your division, but Zeke, bro, you talk desperation with OBJ. Jerry Jones is waving the white flag, re-signing this guy. And I love Zeke. When he came out, I was a huge Zeke fan, about the only Dallas Cowboy jersey I would buy. My dad is a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. There's a whole story of me losing a deal with him where they beat Miami and I had to go get dressed up in a jersey and I thought I was going to die. It was horrible. He still has the picture to this date sitting down in his little den area downstairs in the basement. It's me in a Dallas Cowboy hat and I think at the time it was a Des Bryant 88 jersey. I wanted to puke. I needed to go home and take a shower, and I had to send it to him and post it on the on Instagram and Facebook. It was humiliating. But I can tell you that Zeke was probably the only one that I wanted to buy just because of the Ohio State guy. He's coming back past his physical. He's hasn't done much in the last 4 years or so, but he's coming back wearing his college number 15. Is this a revitalization of Zeke of old, or are we just in for another downer of a year for Zeke? What you think?
Listen, this is the most desperate move the Cowboys can make. They did absolutely nothing. Nothing in the offseason. No trades.
Nothing in the draft.
Nothing in the draft. They did nothing. This is a desperation move. You got rid of the guy because the guy wasn't being productive for what you were paying him for. The only reason you're bringing him back is because you lost your starting running back. Zeke is a 28-year-old that's past his prime. Love Zeke. One of the best running backs ever at Ohio State. The guy came in like gangbusters, and I hate Dallas, but I got to give the guy props. He came in, was eating. He's done. He fell off, bro. He was only averaging 3.2 yards in New England. The guy's he's not going to put up numbers in Dallas. It's just not going to happen. He's a step slow. You know what I'm saying? Football year, you already know this. Running backs' careers are always shorter than most players in the league because
100%.
they get beat up. They get beat up. Their legs are one of the first things to go. And if your legs are not there, you're not going to put up them guys. You have guys who are, outliers like Adrian Peterson. He played till he was in his late 30s.
He was a freak of an athlete.
LaDainian Tomlinson, he ran till his late 30s as well. But Zeke ain't that guy. I'm sorry, he's not. I think his career's already peaked. I mean, if they can get him 50, 60, he can get 50, 60 yards a game and maybe, a touchdown when they're within the red zone. Yes. But he's not going to be that guy that's going to dust you for 70 yards like he was doing when he first came into the league. It's just not going to happen. I think Jerry Jones had to bring him in because they had to bring some kind of fanfare to Dallas because they did absolutely nothing. So this right here, this 100% reeks of desperation by Jerry Jones.
Yeah. So I'm going to play devil's advocate for you for a minute because I was just thinking about something as you were talking about his stint in New England. New England's not a run first, never has been, even since the Brady era. They've had some no-name, low-level running backs, Kevin Falk and some others that were there. They put up some decent numbers comparatively to a New England team, right? New England's not been known in history to be a run first team, say like a ground and pound of the Browns or the Steelers or Tennessee right now. It's not their DNA. Dallas, though, it's not necessarily their DNA, but a lot of times Dallas was pretty balanced when it came to their run scheme. They weren't run first, but they were pretty balanced. Pollard did well. Zeke did well when he was first there. There was one other that I can't remember that was there, but they all had decent stats. Now, I don't know what happened between the end of Zeke's tenure in Dallas to the time that he went to New England, what was happening with the team, because I don't follow Dallas that closely. I know their O-line was about as good as a middle school dance. It just did not work very well. Dak was hurt, I think, one of those years. So my devil's advocate on this is maybe we don't see Zeke of year 1, year 2. I don't think we're going to get a lot of feed me. But I think we're going to get a much better version of Zeke than we did his last stint with Dallas and his entire stint with New England. I think we will see a small revitalization of the Zeke of old, again, on older legs. Let's put it for real. He's not going to be the young stud running over people like he did at Ohio State in his first 2 years. But I don't think he's going to be a dud. And I think if they use him correctly, and that's all going to be on, I believe McCarthy's still there, right? Is McCarthy still the coach?
Mm-hmm.
So if McCarthy does it right, and the offensive coordinator does it right, and Zeke commits, I think that's part of Zeke's problem. You talk about a diva. I've never seen a diva as bad as Zeke from a running back position. After his first 2 years, he thought he was God's gift. And he needs to take a play from Derrick Henry's playbook and just shut up and run the ball. That's my thing. I do think that we might see a better version than the last 2 or 3 years that we've seen with Zeke in Dallas. If Dallas can get their stuff together on the front line, and if Dak doesn't crap the bed, because Dak is known to being gun-ho first 4 or 5 games of the season, and then all of a sudden forgets how to play football. So that's my take on it, bro. I think we might see a little bit better version of him, but not rookie second year, third year version of Zeke.
Don't be surprised if that entire team's in shambles this year, because Prescott is still trying to get a contract extension from
And
Dallas.
They haven't even talked about
They haven't even talked to him about it. So don't think he's going to go full bore for this team and end up getting hurt and not getting anything. You already know how this goes. If he's playing on a 1-year deal right now and he doesn't get extended, the dude wants like $60 million a year. For what? Like, what have you shown?
Right. And I'm not a Dak fan because you haven't shown it to get that. You've got 2 plays with this, Dak. You go out there and play your heart out and get paid, or you don't play your heart out and no one pays you. But you run the risk. It's an opportunity that you have. It's a risk reward. Do you go out there and play with your heart out and do the things that your fans think you can do, what you might be able to do? Or do you boohoo about a contract, don't play well, and figure out if anybody wants you? Where else you going to play, Dak?
Oh, there's people that'll pick him up. There's teams that'll pick him up, believe me.
Right now, since everybody just got a quarterback?
Yeah, but I'm talking about next year. I'm not talking about right now. I'm talking about next year. Trust me, there will be a team out there that will sign him out of desperation and give him close to what he wants. He won't get exactly what he wants, but
The Giants.
Come on, man. No, hell no. No, sir. Never.
Oh.
If they can give Cousins $180 million and that dude is a game manager, trust me.
But he's consistent.
He is consistent. He is consistent.
Dak is not a consistent quarterback. Dak will show up 2 or 3 games, crap the bed 2 or 3 games. How many interceptions did Dak Prescott throw last year? Like, I'm going to look this up real quick. Because let's see, Dak stats. Because I'm just telling you right now, he only had 9 interceptions with 36 touchdowns, 105 passer rating. So he did pretty well last year with 4,500 yards. In 22, he threw for 23 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. So he's not. He'll go a game and throw 2 or 3 interceptions, and then go 3 or 4 games and not throw any, and then he just gets a rinse and repeat. So he's like riding a roller coaster. You don't know which Dak's going to show up to the game. Good Dak, on point Dak, is a dangerous Dak. And if you get that, and Zeke comes back at least 75%, I'll even give him 70%. He's not down to 50% to me yet. You've got a dangerous duo. You got a dangerous duo. I think they're still hurting at wide receiver. Still think they're hurting there a little bit. Maybe they have one guy that's there, but they didn't pick anybody up in the draft very well. They're not doing a lot of things in the offseason. So I don't know. I know we got off on Dak Prescott with that, but sometimes your running backs go as far as your quarterback can take them too. So
facts.
It'd be an interesting pairing. I'm gonna watch it because he's an Ohio State guy. I'm a Zeke fan, and I'm gonna be all on board with my Buckeye guys. All of those guys that are out there, I cheer them on. My feelings about Stroud and Fields and the Bosa kids, and now Marvin Harrison Jr. and Lattimore's out there, but they're not re-signing Lattimore, or they're not trading Lattimore. So you've got a lot of these Ohio State guys out there that I'll just root for just because simply they're Ohio State guys. So he's on my list. So jury's still out on on Zeke, not Dak. But that's what I've got. What's your last thoughts on Zeke?
Like I said, I don't think he's going to be back to his old form. I think it's going to be what it is. He'll get you maybe 700 yards for the season, maybe 8 or 9 touchdowns, depending how close he is to the goal. But like I said, he's not going to give you 60 in a cloud of dust. It's just not going to happen anymore.
Mm-hmm. Did they not pick up a running back? I mean, they got CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's not. He's not a drop in the bucket when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, there's rumors out there about Najee Harris too, because Steelers didn't pick up his option. Could he go to Dallas? That would be, honestly, I'm not calling Najee Harris a bust, but that could be a scary duo. Young guy, older guy, both of them are a little power-ish with a little bit of scat. So they're not full power, but they're not a LaDainian Thomas and scat back. They're not a bust power. They're not a LaDainian Thomas scat. They're that hybrid that can run you over if need to be, but they're also a little shifty. So we'll see. There's a little bit of rumors there. There's also rumors out there that says they have no interest in it. So we'll see what happens with that. So, all right. So we are going on to our third segment of the night. This one's going to be a fun one. So we're going to talk a little bit of random news. So we've got a couple of different articles that are out there, a couple of different things that are happening, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. First is, we got a couple of guys that have been approached out there, big names, of coming out of retirement. Aaron Donald, the GM from the Rams, had posted, hey, how about one more playoff run? Do you have it in you? You talk about desperation. That smells like desperation. The second guy out there, which came out of his own mouth, was J.J. Watt. And J.J. Watt basically said to the Texans, if you are absolutely in need, give me a call. What are you thinking about these two guys and the possibility of a return out of retirement into football?
Aaron Donald got plenty of gas left in the tank, man. I just think he wanted to end his career early so he can spend more time with his family and his kids and do the things. It's not like he has nothing left, and it's not like he wasn't ready to go. He can come back out and do it unless that document, that paperwork has been sent into the NFL and you signed your 1 day contract to retire or whatever it is when they do the club. He still had the ability to come back. So that to me is not retirement. He didn't officially retire. He says he was retiring, but he didn't. Look at Brady. Brady was retiring and he came back. So let's not say it's a retirement. Now, Nah, with Watt, that's different. Watt's been out of the league, I think, for what, 2 years now?
Mm. 2 to 3?
About 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
He's been out of the league
Yeah.
now, and he left because of injury. He's been sitting. I'm pretty sure his injuries have been cleared up, but he's older now. I don't know if his
Mhm.
body can handle coming back. To me, that would be for desperation from Arizona's part to bring him back. Maybe he'll do like a Strahan thing where he'll sit out the preseason and
Mhm.
OTAs and all that, and just come back in when the season starts because he's a veteran. But listen, Watt can stay home. He's one of the greatest all time. He's a surefire Hall of Famer, first ballot, no question about it. Let's not come back. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't hurt yourself anymore. You're gonna come back, end up getting hurt again. Just stay home.
Mhm.
Enjoy retirement.
Yeah.
You've been doing well. You have nothing to worry about. Your legacy is secured where you are. You're one of the greatest of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer. The one I can see coming back is Aaron Donald because he left.
Mhm.
He didn't leave because of injury. He retired
Early.
me because he wanted to.
Yeah.
So I could
He
see
said
him
he was
coming back.
burnout was what his term was, is I was
Yeah,
burnout.
they always
And
say that
I
when
mean,
they
I
don't
can.
win. When they don't win, they
Yeah,
always say that.
true. So here's my thought. I totally 100% agree with you on Aaron Donald. Tons left in there. One of the greatest all times that have played. He's up on that list, top 5, top 3 on that list in there. JJ though. So let's talk about JJ for a second. You know that I'm becoming more and more of a fan of the Houston Texans. They are on my dark horse. They're actually not even a dark horse now when it comes to playoff run contenders for this next season. They've got the goods. They do. They've got the goods. JJ said he would come out of retirement if they absolutely need it. I don't know what the absolute need it would be, but can you imagine JJ Watt in the Texans locker room as the veteran guy who I do truly believe that JJ Watt is a stand-up guy. He's not a diva. He's not a locker room cancer. But can you imagine they bring him back for the sole purpose of being the veteran in the locker room, working with CJ Stroud, working with that defense. Maybe he doesn't play all the snaps. Nope, he's not going to OTAs. He's not playing in preseason. He's already been there, done that, doesn't need to do that. He could play with his eyes closed. He can learn a playbook in 2 seconds, just like Aaron Donald can. But to be that guy, to be a leader on that defense and help some of those young kids, bro, listen, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the absolute need it would be, but to be an advocate like that on the field and maybe not play a whole lot, but the juice that he would bring to that defense in that locker room would be next level for them. It'd be next level. Aaron Donald coming back would not bring that juice because those are all the same people that he played with. Because JJ left the Texans and he went to Arizona, and now they're talking about him coming back to the Texans, and he's like, I'll leave the door open if you absolutely need me. Is he missing playing football? He might be, because most of these guys miss playing after a few years of being gone but he can go and commentate. He's that kind of a guy. He's got all that charisma. He's got that capability of being on TV. There is no problem with him. But I could see him being that juice in that locker room, man, with those young kids and JJ Watt coming in and sharing it. I don't know.
Okay.
I still, if I wasn't a Dolphins fan right now, I'd be a Texans fan. I'm just saying that
But
right now.
here's my thing. Why come back and batter your body? You can just bring him back as a defensive line coach. He can go in and have the same effect on these guys, not putting on a uniform and playing. He's going to be with them
I don't
every
know.
day. He'll be with them every
Yeah.
day. He'll be traveling with them every day. He'll be able to work with them every day. Come on, man. The guy's going to
It's
come.
different to me when you put the helmet on. It's different to me when you put the helmet on.
Listen, this guy can still do what he needs to do, still bring that juice, still bring that energy, still bring that veteran presence on that team as a defensive coach. He does not have to put the uniform on to make an effect on these young kids. He has knowledge he can pass down and technique. He can
Sure.
pass down onto these kids the future. Why batter yourself? Why bring yourself out of retirement to get hurt again down the road? Listen, the guy retired because his body couldn't take it anymore. Okay, you've been out of the league 3 years. You've been resting your body. That doesn't mean anything. You haven't played
Yeah.
in 3 years. Your body's not attuned to playing football anymore. Period. It's going to take you a while for your body to adjust. And in the 3 years that he's been gone, it's the same thing that happens all the time. These guys get bigger, faster, stronger. He has to
Mhm.
keep up with that. I'm telling you, it's not going to be as simple as him coming back, getting back in the field and dominating, or even come close to dominating like he was. Pass that knowledge on as
I
a
would
coach.
yeah. I wouldn't see so I get what you're saying about being a coach or a contributor off the field, things like that. Listen, man, if Ray Lewis slapped on some pads and a helmet next to you, that's a different Ray Lewis than Ray Lewis yelling at you from the sideline at practice. I'm sorry. I would play different. I'd play different. I got Ray freaking Lewis next to me. When he walks out there and does his thing and, it's just a different animal. There is something that happens when you cross that white line and you put the helmet on. You become a different animal. Now, whether you have that juice or not, I think you bring something to the field. You can still be a coach. You can be a contributor off the field. You can be a veteran presence for the front office and all of that. Could he play? Yeah, I think he could play. I don't think he could play at 100%. He's not going to be the JJ Watt of old. I mean, it's not going to happen. Your body does what your body does. I do think he could play. And I think the juice that he would bring to that locker room as a player and not just a contributor off the field or a coach would be a different juice to those young guys when they're out there smacking heads and you've got a helmet on and you pull a young guy aside and you say, no, 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 no. Let's look at it this way. And then you show them and you be that guy to do it. I still think, I don't think it'll happen. Let me just say this. I'm just going to say this right now. Aaron Donald and JJ Watt will not unretire and come and play. I don't see that happening. If anybody comes out of retirement, it would be JJ Watt because he's the one it came out of his mouth. If D'Amico Ryans calls him and says, JJ, man, give me 1 year. I think we got this. These young kids need you. And he pitches it to him. I can see JJ saying yes for 1 year. I don't think Aaron Donald wants that. I don't care who calls him because I think he's burnt. It didn't come out of his mouth. That came out of the GM's mouth saying, hey, how about you come and we do this one more time? If Aaron Donald's not in that headspace, he's like, screw you, man. I'm not doing this, man. I'm good now. I'm not burnt out. My body is not hurting. The difference is it came out of JJ Watt's mouth. If D'Amico Ryans calls him, don't you think he's going to pick up that phone call? I think he would. And I think if he pitched it hard enough, he'd be on that sidelines with the Texans helmet on.
See, but I think you made the misnomer of using Ray Lewis as an example. Ray Lewis can motivate a paper bag, so it wouldn't matter if he was standing next to you on the sidelines as a coach. He's still gonna fire his guys up, man. He's still gonna be.
He'll fire him up, but it's going to be different if he's got a helmet
Nah,
on.
man, it ain't gonna be no different because Ray gonna treat him like he's in the game. Ray's gonna talk to him the same way on the sideline like he would if he was in the game. I'm telling you, that's Ray
Yeah,
Lewis's personality.
now Ray Lewis, yes, that's his personality. He can make a rock turn into a diamond just by talking to it. That's just Ray Lewis. But Ray Lewis with a helmet, I'm telling you, on the field, your comrades on the field, your brothers in arms on the field with the helmet, with the pads, smacking each other together is a different level than a coach who could be a Vince Lombardi and give the greatest speech, halftime speech at all time. Yeah, you're going to want to run through a wall for him. I bet Ray Lewis can go in there and motivate a high school team to go run through fire, butt naked, with gasoline drenched on them. But there is a difference about playing with that dude next to you in the trenches. There's just a difference. And so I'll leave it at that. But my thought is if anybody's coming out of retirement, it'll be JJ Watt. We'll see JJ Watt wearing a helmet before we see Aaron Donald. So, all right, you've got an article that you saw that you wanted to bring up, which I thought was very interesting about Micah Parsons. What you got?
Yeah, so Michael Parsons when was wrestling a sumo wrestler. And listen, to me, I think that's brilliant on his part. And I think that's something that every NFL player should be doing in the offseason, especially every defensive player in the offseason, because the sumo specializes in what? Right? Pushing people around, learning
Mm-hmm.
how to move
Mm-hmm.
people. And these guys, these sumo wrestlers are going to guys against guys who are 4, 5, 600-pound behemoths, monsters, and they're moving these guys around, pushing them around. So I think to me, I think that's something that should be part of the off-season workout program. Go and work out with these sumo wrestlers, see how they live, see their techniques, because a lot of the techniques that they have can translate to the NFL, except for obviously holding, because these guys
Mm-hmm.
they hold each other's belts when they're in the sumo ring. But seeing the video, he lost the first one to the sumo wrestler, and then he came back and he was able to push the sumo out. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I think it's a great workout for them. I think it's defensive players should be planning this in the offseason. I think it should be part of their regiment, because sumo wrestlers' entire purpose is to move big bodies out of the way. And if you
Mm-hmm.
can move a guy who's 400 or 500 pounds, what makes you think you can't move a guy who's 300 pounds, 375
Yeah.
pounds on the football field when you know you're faster than they are? So I
Yeah.
think it's a good way to get those workouts in. And I think it's something that defensive players should think about doing as part of their offseason routine to get better, not get
Yeah.
faster, just to get better, to be able to move people out of the way and learn techniques to do it that way.
Yeah. I think I want to see if I can get this video here up, and let's just see if we can share this video. Give me just a quick second. And I'm going to try to cue this up, see if we can. See if I can cue this up and then share this with everybody here on the video. Let's see. All right. So, don't know if there's going to be audio here, but this is Micah Parsons wrestling a sumo wrestler. All right. So there's his first loss. And look at the difference in size. I mean, that's a small sumo wrestler. Let's just be real. That's a small
That's
sumo.
a small sumo.
That's a small guy. Is that CJ? Oh, CJ's doing it too. Man, here, did you hear that skin slapping?
Yeah.
I mean, he's holding his own.
Yeah. He gets him out of the ring.
And he got him.
Yeah.
And he got him. That is crazy.
It's a good way for these guys to get some confidence, man. But I think it's good technique, man. You're learning how to push people out the way. And remember, these guys, the sumos they're going against are not even the behemoths. You know what I'm saying? These are
not these. I mean, but these guys know their technique.
Yeah, these guys know the technique. Yeah. So I mean, think about it. And he's small. The guy was, the guy was bigger in weight, but I'm sure Mika was stronger, and he lost the first round, because it's not about the size. It's not about how strong you are. It's technique.
It's all about leverage.
It's all about leverage, and it's all about technique. And that translates to the football field. And I think a lot of these guys can do that. Your boy was there as well, training there.
CJ,
well. Yeah.
I know.
So
listen, it sounds like CJ and Micah have become good friends, because they were on draft day. They were doing a video for draft day together, talking about some different things. So it sounds like they become good friends, just being in the Dallas, Houston area. So, but yeah, I mean, the sumo wrestler that he took on was not nearly what we would typically think of a sumo wrestler of 300-400 pound sumo guys, and even bigger. But we always said in football, low man wins. Low man wins. The lower you can get from a tackle, or if you're a runner, if you get lower than the guys in front of you, if you get lower than the pads, you should win 90% of the time. Then you got that leverage. You can get up underneath them, and then you can push them out of the way. And that was the same thing I was teaching to wide receivers. If they were going for a blocking scheme, don't stand straight up. I would hate watching those wide receivers stand straight up like a toothpick and then try to block that corner. The moment that corner got underneath those pads, all he had to do was stand up that wide receiver and make them look stupid. There's a video out there of Snead pushing Tyreek to the ground, and it embarrassed Tyreek. And Tyreek's not big. He's not a tall guy, but Snead just got him, stood him up, threw him to the ground. And that's what these guys need to work. And there's a lot of these guys that will do CrossFit. I've been huge into CrossFit for the last 5 years. That's no joke. That cross training is no joke. That's a lot of heart work, a lot of cycling barbells and getting yourself accustomed to all of this fast-paced movement, but also with strength and cardio and all of that. You're doing that with gear on. Like that's big time. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think they need to incorporate different types of training beyond put the pads on, go hit each other. Let's go to a 2 a day. Let's go do this. Let's go lift weights. Those days are over because everybody's getting faster and stronger. They need to come in and incorporate different things within their training regimen and not just allow these guys to have to do it on their own. These teams need to start thinking creatively of how they're going to be able to adjust and get better at their craft and not just build these great big facilities with weight rooms. Get these guys coming in here, figuring out what's working. Shoot. You don't think that some of these D linemen and O linemen learning from sumo wrestlers and how to get leverage could change their game? What do you think Reggie White would be like today if he had this type of training? Lawrence Taylor. That's your boy, Lawrence Taylor. LT. Come on. They would dominate. It'd be stupid.
Yeah, I just think it's a good way for them to learn different techniques that they can use on the football field, man. But it's not for everybody. Everybody's not going to want to put the time and effort in to do that. But but what it shows me from Micah Parsons is why he's one of the best defensive players in the league because of things like this, because of him willing to put himself in that situation to learn.
Yep.
So all the respect in the world to him. So
yeah, listen. If you listen to this podcast and you are an athlete, I'm not talking about an adult athlete. I mean, you could take this as an adult athlete, but a younger person in high school or college, you will only be as good as the training that you put in. So if you want to show up to practice and you want to do just practice, you'll be just that good. If you don't train with people that are above you, that have better skill sets than you won't rise to the occasion. And so that's what that's what this video shows. They're not just doing it to be goofy. I don't think it was a goofy move. I do think that there was some strategy behind this of getting better and figuring out, hey, how do I get better? Be a student of the game, know your craft, get better at the craft all day long. So that was a really cool video. Thanks for bringing that up, man. All right. Last segment of the night, our favorite segment, our Be a Homer segment. I'm going to let you kick us off with your Giants. Talk to me a little bit about your homerisms here.
So, read an article today where already the expectations on Neighbors is out of control. They're expecting this kid to come in and be an absolute superstar, rock star, help carry the team. They need to pump the brakes. They really do. Listen, the Giants beefed up their O-line, but it's still not where it needs to be. Your quarterback is still rehabbing. There's no guarantee he'll be back for game 1 of the season. Your backup quarterback is most likely going to be the starter. He'll probably, from what everybody's saying now, they're saying that he can beat out Daniel Jones for the starting spot in the seasons, which doesn't bode well for the Giants season, period, if that's the case. So pump the brakes on this kid, man. Give him an opportunity to get acclimated to the NFL. Don't expect him to come in and be gangbusters out the gate. Some guys need time to adjust. And don't get me wrong, he's from that LSU bloodline where these guys come in and become absolute studs, like OBJ was when he came out. And just out the gate, the guy was awesome coming out of the gate. But that's not going to be for everybody. But you also had Eli Manning throwing to you. You didn't have Daniel Jones throwing to you. So stop putting pressure on this kid like that. Give him time. And I'm sure he wants to prove himself. But sometimes when they try to go out and prove themselves, what ends up happening is they they end up getting the dropsies, or they end up not running the routes they're supposed to be running, or they try to show out and it doesn't bode well for them. Let the kid learn. He's going to be a rookie.
Mhm.
Let him come in, do what he do, and just pump the brakes a little bit. Pump the brakes.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate the expectations that they put on these rookie kids day one, especially quarterbacks, these skill players that just think that they're just the best. So I feel you on that.
Come
So,
on, man. They got
all
Drew
right.
Lock throwing to him. They're going to have Drew Lock throwing to
Right.
him. Come on, bro.
And Daniel Jones. I mean, neither one of them are like elite caliber quarterbacks. So you can't expect elite caliber wide receivers to listen. Even Marvin Harrison Jr. probably would not do well with a non-elite quarterback. I mean, he did well with it in college, but when you go to the next level, it's totally different. Totally different. The safeties, the corners, all of that guard you differently. So you're in big boy world, and it just, I agree with you. Pump the brakes a little bit. So, all right. So for the Dolphins, here's what I would say. A couple of things. Number one, I do think we need to pump the brakes. I'm excited to have OBJ as part of the roster. We talked about this at the beginning of the show. I'm excited to have him as long as OBJ understands his role. And if he is a role player in our team, then it works. If he comes in and starts to be a diva, expect all of these passes to him, especially over Tyreek and over Waddle, who's put in the work with Tua, who's put in the time with the Fins, it's not going to happen. My expectations are OBJ is going to know his role, just like The Rock says, know your role and be a part of that. So that's my take on OBJ. A couple other things. Tua contracts have started. Contract talks have started. I do believe that they are going to wait and see on some of this stuff. It looks like he put on a ton of weight last year, and then he lost some weight this year. He looks a little bit different. I think he got another arm sleeve on the other arm. I don't know if that's the gunslinger arm sleeves, whatever works for you, bro. Like, just go out there and don't get hit and deliver. I think those are some of the things that we're looking at for the Fins. My expectations are set high, and most people that know me expect my expectations to be at Super Bowl level right now until we start the season. But coming off of last season and the growth that we had under Mike McDaniel, Tua's growth being a 16-game starter, the weapons that we have, Tyreek having his second year, now is going to be his third year. My wild card is Waddle. There's been a lot of talk about Waddle being there. And so I hope that does not mess with his psyche and his performance. We just need to go out there and ball. The O-line needs to do their thing. And we need to prove that we are going to be AFC East champions. I believe the Bills are in shambles right now, just in shambles. The only thing that they've got is their quarterback. And who knows what the Jets are going to do. We haven't even really seen Aaron Rodgers do anything in New York. So we don't know. And the Patriots are going to Patriot now. They don't have Tom Brady. They're going to do their thing. So this is the year for us to step up and claim the throne of the AFC East and do our thing throughout the AFC. It's going to be a tough run. I already can tell you that we're going to have to battle with the Baltimore Ravens when it comes around to it. The Houston Texans, when it comes around to it, they're going to be a powerhouse. The Kansas City Chiefs, when it comes to it, there's a handful of AFC teams right now that we're going to have to contend with, and it's not going to be an easy road if we're going to do it. Expectations are high, but I'm going to temper them a little bit because I just know how I am during this point of the season. We'll talk September, October, when it comes down to it, to see how I feel. Are we 500 or are we on a roll? So that's what I've got. So that's my homer section. Francisco, take us home, wrap us up for the evening, and we will bounce for the night. But what's your last thoughts, man?
So here's my last thoughts. I think Tua's brother is actually a better player than Tua right now. I think you can go further with Tua's brother right now that plays for Maryland than you can with the actual quarterback you have on your staff. So that's my hot take.
Okay, that's your hot take. All right. Bro, that's like 2 daggers to me tonight. You sit at home today, you sat at work today going, man, I got these 2 hot ones right here. I'm just gonna stab it on both sides.
Gotta let you know, man. Gotta let you know.
Hey, it keeps me humble, man. But most of my friends, most of the people that know me, that I'm a Dolphin fan, been a Dolphin fan for 30 plus years, I have to be humbled every once in a while. So, hey, because it is what it is. All right, guys. Well, that is our show for me, Caleb, for Francisco. We appreciate you guys joining us on the Roaming Homer podcast. As always, you can find us on YouTube under The Roaming Homer and anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Be sure to give us a like, subscribe, share it. We post all of our info, all of our videos, all of our podcasts generally on Wednesdays is when they go live for you all. So this episode, if you're listening now, will go live on Wednesday. We appreciate you guys for all that we're doing. Stay tuned as we grow into the podcast. We're looking to bring on some new guests, some call-ins, do another live show because that live show, Francisco, was amazing. Loved it. We're going to do that again at some point. But again, thank you guys for joining us on this show. And until next time, be the roaming homer that you know you are, and appreciate you. Peace.